Sorry. Can we make one comment? We have Councilwoman Betts on the telephone, but this is, there was some questions asked. She's not participating. It's just so she can hear. She won't be speaking or making comments to council, but it's just...
She will not be?
No, ma'am, that was my understanding. I could be wrong. She's not participating in the deliberations. She, if she has a question, I suppose she could answer, but she's not here. She can't vote, so normally if you can't vote, you don't participate in the conversation about what you're voting on. It's kind of like recusing yourself. You go sit someplace else. She's here in spirit and whatever, and this is just to keep her informed on a, what you call it, basis as it's happening. I understand she could be streaming, but this is our way of making sure she's able to keep up. She is, on, as I understood it, on her doctor's advice, not here because of her respiratory ailments. You've all seen the things she carries. So we're just trying to make accommodations so she knows what's going on. But Ms. Betts, you would not be participating to the point of giving input about what should be done or anything, but this is to keep you apprised of the situation. So is that understandable?
Sue, could you hear that? Did you understand?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Thanks, ma'am.
All right. The first item on the agenda this evening is a discussion on proposing the regular council meeting of March the 24th, including the New View public hearing. John?
I have been discussing this with the city attorney and the mayor for the last week. I have concerns about bringing attorneys from a hotbed area of Denver. I also am concerned about the governor's edict of no more than 10 people in the room. I would anticipate that this is going to have a crowded chambers with people very close together, and with this pandemic going on, I don't think we should be flouting what the governor is and the public health is recommending, that we try and curb this as quickly as possible, and this would be probably one of the biggest gatherings we would have. So I'd like council to weigh in whether we should continue with this particular meeting, I guess.
And then readjust as we go or as we see fit, as far as the next council meeting. And then the one following that, I believe, is the swearing in of the new council.
If we postpone this one till the next meeting, it will give us time to see if we can't come up with some way to follow the charter, keep them open meetings, and have citizen participation, but not have people have to be in this room.
And the emergency declaration would authorize you to figure out different ways of holding meetings that are meaningful if you can. One of my concerns as an attorney is some of these hearings are quasi-judicial, and we need to make sure that there is a record that can be transcribed pretty much verbatim if somebody wants to appeal it or whatever. Experience in district court in hearings where people appear by phone and where I've appeared by phone, when the judge does this, you can't hear him, and so you don't have a good record of what's occurring. Canceling this next meeting would give us time to maybe find the technology, get it in place as this emergency ordinance, the procedures in the emergency ordinance appear to allow us to do. We already went through a year and a half on this hearing, and I really, if we're going to do it again, I want an extremely good record so that a district court judge, if one has to look at it, doesn't have to guess what was said in gaps because we missed something. And so that would be my reasoning. I'm looking down to, outcomes, and one of them is we're back in court, and I don't want to be there with an incomplete record. And we're going to have There's some staff members, I think, who are home, who might be called on to testify, and so I don't know if they're, how we're going to get them in here or not. And some things, there's just some logistical things that are getting a little complicated to pull off, given the importance of this hearing. We have some quasi-judicial hearings coming up with P&Z as well. And then you'll have some later on about the P&Z. The ones we called off at the last meeting will be coming up in the second meeting in April for you to do before you leave. So that's my recommendation, is we cancel the hearing based on the governor's edict. There's also some inconsistencies with the state. I'll point out the health department is allowing no more than 5 people, I think it is, in a restaurant 6 feet apart while they're waiting to pick up their deliveries. A lot of the stores and other businesses in town are following some of the same procedures. They're not allowing too many people in the store. I think some of the service, they're retail, I'm sorry. It's, for example, the pot stores are limiting how many people are in the lobby waiting, how many people are in there. They're giving people numbers and having them wait outside. So there's a lot of the businesses are observing.
Is this a state mandate, or is this a recommendation?
It's a state mandate for the 5 people 6 feet apart in a restaurant. That's a place of accommodation. They have not said anything specific to government meetings that I've seen, but the governor, I thought, was issuing another executive order today, was the rumor, and I haven't been able to pull it up yet on the internet. He gave a 45-minute press conference today, and he was supposed to issue more.
I was talking with Miriam Gillow-Wiles, who is the executive director for Southwest Colorado Council of Governments, and she's been doing some research to see how we might handle city council meetings in order to be in compliance with the law. And since this is an emergency that's been proclaimed, then the rules are a little bit different than they might be under ordinary circumstances. And she is also researching into technologies that, including Zoom, which I think we do have that capability of us being able to take remote testimony and be able to continue to conduct business. My big concern is just continuing to push this off and push this off. We certainly want to do it the right way, and I agree with you, Mike. On several occasions, you and I have had conversations about wanting to be sure that we do this right. But we also want to be able to do it expeditiously, too, if we can.
I know that this is rarefied air that we're living in right now, but we have no emergency plan in place as of right now for emergency meetings?
We have the ordinance which authorizes us to do what the emergency dictates we do. In other words, to say we do this for a meeting on this situation, no. What we have is an ordinance which allows us to meet the need at the time. So one of the examples was if there was a flood rage through the Dolores River Valley and half the board was on one side of the valley and half was on the other, we could get whatever communication methodology was available so they could have a meeting. That's what we're looking at here. I don't have problems with meetings. I have problems with quasi-judicial hearings being done electronically because the district court is supposed to have one of the best systems around to record telephonic meetings, and I can't tell you how many times the court reporters who are making transcriptions have called me up and asked me what I said. So that's why I'm having reservations about a quasi-judicial hearing that has as much at stake as that one has electronically. And the other people would have to agree to that as well. And so that's my concern.
Well, this isn't brand new information. We've had better part of a month and a half to kind of start formulating these plans. It doesn't sound like we did.
I mean, does this meeting have to be electronically? Is that what you're saying? If we
No.
go forward, it has to be?
what I'm saying, if it is electronically, I don't know how we're going to pull it off and make sure it works. We can try it, and it may or may not work, is what I'm saying. And that's a chance I don't want to take. I like to know what's going to happen as far as certain things. What we're responding to, and I would also say, you know, as far as staff goes, the governor's been out about, somebody heard somebody recently say this, about 24 hours ahead of us, and we're reacting to what he's telling us we can and can't do. We only recently learned we may or may not be able to have meetings, that they're starting to limit social contact, that they want us to not have all these people in a room together. And so that's part of the problem with formulating a plan. We may not have known it was necessary to the extent it's suddenly become.
I'd like to comment, council member. This is dated Tuesday, which is yesterday at 1:18 p.m. from the San Juan Public Health to Best Protect Public Health. San Juan Public Health is updating its recommendation on event cancellations to reflect the new Centers for Disease Control and Prevention guidance released yesterday for the cancellation or postponement of in-person events of 10 people or more. Guidance states, quote, during the next 15 days, all events of 10 plus people should be canceled or held virtually. They're just coming out with this yesterday. We have no clue. We still don't have a case here in this county, but we're acting like we're in a hot zone because we know we're going to get it. We are ahead of the curve. It's not here yet. That's why we're preparing for this event.
But so in other words, the whole bottom line is just canceling the meeting the 24th, because that's what it's saying. Because I think I agree that I don't think we're organized enough to go ahead and try to have the 14th, the meeting the 24th, even electronically or whatever. I mean, the laws, the rules there are 10 people or more. So, and then we've been through a lot of hoops on this project here, and no use continuing all these hoops from now to day on, I think. But I don't see a problem with the canceling the 24th and see what happens within the 15, what'd you say, 15 days?
That's what their latest.
But I mean, and see what happens after the 15 days. I mean, that's my...
Yeah, I didn't see a problem with it. I'm just curious as to,
What's the next step?
what we have in place and how
I
we're
agree
planning
with
on
you.
implementing things. And I know that we don't have all the answers, and I wasn't expecting all the answers, but I do think that a little foresight, watching this thing come down the pike, that maybe we could have had boots on the ground, so to speak, a little sooner. And then that way, we're not having to last minute, try to figure this stuff out. But by no means am I saying that I thought that you guys should have it all dialed in. But I do think we could have been a little bit farther down the road if we would have taken the initiative a little sooner. And that probably includes us as well.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so then are we prepared to make a motion to postpone the regular council meeting? I'm assuming we are basically canceling it then. We are canceling the March the 24th meeting. We won't conduct any business on March the 24th? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, that's right.
That's my understanding.
I think that'd be prudent.
That's my understanding. What we're asking you to do is to cancel the meeting. There's some other items on the agenda, I think, that'll make it easier to do that, but yes.
So then it would maybe not only be the next meeting, but then depending on what our lovely governor says, we could cancel the next meeting
Yeah.
and then the next meeting?
Well, we may have to. This is one of the things that we're unsure of, and we may by then be able to say, okay, you folks can sit home and do it by phone. You folks can sit home and do it FaceTime. We'll come up with a way for the meeting in April. That's one of the, I've been spending the last 3 days on the phone with 3 governments and a lot of people, and nobody has a clue as to how they're going to pull this off, but they're all looking for the answers. So I think something's going to come from, example, the state. Here's some ways to do things. Here's some ways not to do things. We have certain capabilities here with internet and things, but you know, what do you have at your house? Can we get you, do you have enough capacity to do what might be needed with some of this technology? And those are some things we're going to have to look at. Phil Johnson, I think, has started looking at that for people working from home here. That could apply to meetings. So maybe we can have an answer as how it's going to happen by the first meeting in April. And yes, we can have a meeting. We may have to have an abbreviated meeting somehow by, you know, to pay the bills, make those kind of decisions, and maybe we put off hearings. I don't know. I am unclear right now. But the technology is there. It's just, is it something we can use here based on our system and things like that?
This isn't the first time this has come up, right? I mean,
yes.
Surely in history, at some point, this has occurred. And so in the past, what is protocol, and I'm not even saying for Cortez, for other municipalities, in a disaster.
Like where they've had floods or something.
Yeah, when the big flood happened in Boulder, surely they had to adjust.
They had some trouble initially because they hadn't put stuff in place. That's why we have the emergency ordinance, because then that authorizes us in the subsequent sections, once you declare an emergency, we can go out and develop this, and I'll use these words, violate our charter, violate the laws about where you have your meetings, when you have them, how you have them. The notice requirements get minimalized, and so we can do things that we can't right now. Technically speaking, we're supposed to have a meeting here. The doors are supposed to be open so people can come in and sit. That's what the charter says. It doesn't authorize, examples, participation by phone. It doesn't authorize, what's the word, surrogates or other people voting for you or things. And, you know, everybody's supposed to be face-to-face, in person. But your ordinance would allow us to develop this stuff by the next meeting, but we don't have the declaration, so we need that to move forward and give us some time to get it done. The other reason is, if we're going to call this meeting off, I'd like to call it off well in advance so the New View people know, not the night before. I don't know how they're going to get here. They may have to drive. You know, are they going to be able to get a hotel room? I don't know. Where are they going to eat? These kind of things. There's a lot of moving parts to this that are, you know, we need to get ahead on.
Do we have any examples?
What do you mean? I'm sorry.
Well, other states or other municipalities or counties that have already developed their responses to the COVID-19 specifically?
No, I have nothing. I have examples from the flood, which you talk about, which was where some of the entities just conducted their meetings in another town. Actually, you know, which is sort of kind of, I say sort of kind of illegal, because you're supposed to do your stuff in your town.
Well, that wouldn't help us in this case anyway.
Right, but yeah, and that's what I'm saying. We don't have, for example, the publication rules don't really allow for you to publish and meet the requirements by putting it on the website. You still have to use the newspapers. That's what the law says. So we've got some constraints, but the emergency declaration could allow us to develop something, but I doubt in time for next Tuesday to get it done and make sure it works and whatever.
The emergency declaration, however, would allow us to, by very virtue of the fact that it's an emergency, allow us to not abide strictly.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We can change place.
Who has to declare an emergency? The town or the state?
The city would have to. One of the reasons we need to declare an emergency is, it's my understanding, and I tried to verify this with other people. I couldn't get into DOLA. DOLA, for example, is going to have monies available to mitigate the consequences. So if your business was shut down because of COVID, you may be able to get some money, as I understand, in either an interest-free loan or a grant or whatever that would help you suck up some of the losses that you had. If we don't declare an emergency, there is a legal argument that, well, you didn't think there was an emergency, so you don't need the emergency money that we have. So,
And just so that, in case every council member doesn't know, the county has already declared a state of emergency for the county. So, just so
Right,
that you
and
know,
I
that
believe
was
the
done this
governor
morning. That was done
declared a
this
state of
morning.
emergency.
Well, but I mean,
I was gonna say
they did it for Montezuma
state-
County this morning.
Right, and I'm saying the governor did it previously.
right.
States.
And so we,
Doesn't that, the governor's declaration of an emergency mandate that we also declared an emergency?
to declare it, in my opinion, yeah, if you want to participate in the emergency programs and things that are going to be available from the state, you also have to have you declare an emergency. And so,
So did we already?
no, you're going to do it tonight.
So as I'm reading this, we could spend up to $500,000 in no time flat. It says 150,000 may be spent in the first 24 hours. $75,000 may be spent every 12 hours, starting at the end of the first 24 hours.
That's for emergency response and nothing else.
But if we declare this as an emergency, then we could use that for whatever someone declares emergency, or who declares that an emergency? then?
You are declaring the emergency as a response to the COVID-19 medical disaster crisis. And so you would be authorizing expenditures of monies to meet that need according to the ordinances. What we're asking, well, I'm sorry, so yes, those monies could be expended because it's an emergency if we can't have a meeting. What I was proposing and we had talked about was maybe the meetings get minimalized. Maybe you meet just to spend the money and you don't authorize the manager to do that, or the mayor or the police chief, or however we have it in the ordinance. So I mean, I'm just saying, if there's a lot of things we can do if you declare the emergency that help the citizens. They make state monies available, they make federal monies available, but without that declaration, those monies may not be available. That was one of the things that came out of the training from the, when we started the emergency response.
So but I'm going back to what Ty said. He said the monies may not be available, but since the governor declared the state of emergency, wouldn't that then cover everybody?
Well, here's the legal argument.
I didn't mention anything about funds.
The part about the funds that, what I understood from the trainings we received in the past, each individual government entity had to declare its own state of emergency, because if the governor declares it and everybody else does but you don't, then maybe you don't have an emergency and you don't get the money.
Right, I get that, but that's what I'm saying. So the governor doesn't cover us.
No, it may not. That was my understanding from the previous training as a result of the big floods and the things that were back.
Confused, I thought it were Colorado.
Right. Okay. No, I guess that's why I was kind of questioning, because of his, what he declared. We shut down the restaurants, we shut down this, we can't.
He didn't declare that. The Colorado Department of Health did. He declared a statewide emergency, and it authorized a state response. It didn't necessarily authorize municipal responses. I guess we can get specific. So we don't have a state of emergency in the city of Cortez to authorize the city to respond to the emergency.
Okay.
So we need to do that so that we can utilize city assets to meet the needs as they may come up. And thanks for getting me on that line of thought, because that's probably the best way to explain it. He only authorized the resources owned by the state. He didn't authorize us to do anything in an emergency.
Okay.
And the same for the county. I mean, I think each government's going to have to declare its own state of emergency to allocate its own resources to meet it.
And just because that $100,000 is in there, it doesn't mean that it has to be spent, even any of it. It's just saying that if something happens and we need to be able to do that, and we can't meet as a body to do it, that there are some provisions in place to allow that to occur. I'm not anticipating that that's going to be the situation in this case, but it's a plan that was put in considering all possible contingencies. So,
That's kind of my question too, is that who, once this 500,000, if this is passed, so you can spend 500,000, who decides to spend that 500,000 and where it gets spent, you know what I mean? Would that be John? Would it be mayor? Would it be
John.
council?
It's pretty much John, we're a council manager form of government, so it's either council or John spends the money.
Okay.
And in extreme, for example, some of the cities, and Roy Lane, God bless his soul, said, I'm not doing that. He was also authorized to spend 500,000. He said, no way. Take that out. But the city manager, which matches our form of government, if council can't meet to make decisions, he can do it. And we'll be coming back to you with some ways to do things as soon as we can get it figured out.
I think it's important that the allocation of those funds and allowing the city manager to use those, it needs to be in our emergency plans as to exactly how those funds should be spent.
Correct.
I mean, to the penny, right? What's completely necessary, not, so that way there's a fail-safe all the way around.
Well,
So-
one of the things that came up in the discussions when we were doing the plan, for example, was what's your biggest type of emergency you could have, and what's the biggest concern? And one of the situations that came up was, okay, we have something happen and we're dealing with that, but all of a sudden the water plant goes down and there's no water in the city. Do we have to go get a helicopter load of bottled water from somewhere? And that might not be in your plan. And so these were some of the things that we tried to work through, and Lori Johnson, and she should be back, I think, in a couple of days, could be able to address and help council understand how that would work better than anybody else, because she's the emergency person.
Okay.
And so the way I'm reading this, if we accept this, this isn't declaring a state of emergency. It's saying that, that the authority, that we can do it. Is that right?
No, this is declaring a disaster emergency.
Oh, because I was reading here, it says, in the event that the mayor pro tem cannot be reached to declare an emergency,
What we're doing tonight is council's going to direct the mayor to sign this declaration. You're going to do it, all of you. We went right to the validation you're supposed to do 7 days, I think it is, after the mayor or somebody declares it. We went right to that state because we could have a meeting tonight so you could all ask these questions and make the decision and go from there. We weren't at the stage where we had to go, hey, mayor, sign this. We were at the stage where we can bring it to council and you as council can make the decision.
it's kind of a preemptive action, so that we've got some things in place that allow us a little bit of flexibility here, and that also will make us eligible at the state and federal level for funding.
well, I guess part of me is only opposed to it only to the fact of then what all the citizens are going to react to, oh, it's a state of emergency. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know that they'll freak out any worse, but I mean, they're already going crazy.
I have a question of point of order. Are we on number one or
That's
are we
what I
on
was
number
gonna say, we're on
6?
1 and 6.
Because it seems like we've wandered off of discussion of New View to the declaration of emergency.
Yeah, we never did get to the.
All right.
Cancel the
motion.
meeting, yes, that's where we are. We're going
So-
to cancel the meeting for the
Yeah, I don't know
24th.
how we got off on the other.
But I think I was trying to just explain that the emergency declaration
Okay,
would
well,
help
let's
with.
stop talking
Yep.
about that and make the decision. Is there any additional discussion regarding canceling the March the 24th meeting? And I'm assuming we're talking about canceling the meeting, not just canceling the public hearing. Are we talking about completely canceling March the 24th? Is that what's being recommended?
Yes, the only thing on that agenda right now is New View, so that's
Okay.
the only thing we will, and we'll just cancel the meeting altogether, and nothing else will be scheduled.
Okay. All right. Questions? Any other questions?
I have none.
All right, then may I have a motion, please?
I make a motion, we postpone the regular council meeting of March 24th, 2020 until the following council meeting, which would probably be April 14th?
Or it's, well, it's a
Till
little,
future
it's a little
notice,
earlier.
I would
Until
say.
future,
Yeah.
I would say future notice, and I put a date in there.
right, until
And it
future
should be
notice.
cancel the meeting instead of postpone?
The council should be.
Cancel.
We're just canceling April, let's just cancel March the 24th, period.
Yeah. Cancel the meeting.
Second.
Keel,
Aye.
Levy,
Aye.
Lucero,
Aye.
Noyes,
All right.
Sheik.
Aye. All right. City staff has had lots of conversations and discussions about what needs to be done and what are essential services, which services can kind of be tabled, how we, if something happens and staff can't actually be in the buildings, how to stay operational during this pandemic. I know you're all aware that the library and the recreation center are closed right now, will be closed for 30 days and then reevaluated. So John, you want to bring folks up to date and
I would add that you'll notice when you walked in the front door tonight, we have essentially a 6-foot barrier up there to let people know that they need to stay behind that barrier for not only their protection, but also the employees' protection. We are, as I told the staff today, I don't have any plans to close City Hall. We are a public function, and we're going to stay open, even if it's just 2 people in this building. But Linda is going to run elections as normal, which means people can walk in and place their ballots in the ballot box if they want to walk in the lobby. But we strongly encourage people to mail them in, or at the back of City Hall, there is the normal box where you can drop your payments. You can also put your ballots in there, and we will pick them up every day.
should we put a sign out there that says that ballots can be accepted there as well?
It's all over that box now.
Okay, good.
She put it all over it yesterday.
Good.
And the ballots were mailed yesterday, so they should be in Cortez by tomorrow or Friday. Today, well, we started this yesterday and finished it up today. Phil Johnson called me about possibly for the businesses in the downtown area that do not have their own private parking, if we could block off spaces in front of each business so that they could do carry out. And I said, by all means, anything we can do to help. So Pippo's, El Grande, Once Upon a Sandwich, Stonefish, Lounging Lizard, The Farm, Wiggling Pig, the brewery, and Blondie's all have designated parking spaces strictly for pickup and carry out. These businesses, some of them have called and said they really appreciate the help, that they are staying busy, but they appreciate that there's parking and they can move people through very quickly.
It's a good idea.
The other thing I have that I would like council's blessing on, I would like to keep all employees currently on the payroll to continue to be paid, with the exception of the temporary employees. Some employees, because of specific health conditions, have already been sent home to self-quarantine and will not be required to be available for work. Any employees, with the exception noted above, being paid to self-quarantine are required to be available for call-in for any department in the city. If an employee is unable to work when called, they will be required to take sick, comp time, or vacation to be paid for that day. If an employee is called a second time and they again refuse to work, they will be left in the on-call rotation, but would not be paid unless they have paid time off available. Employees off will be cleaning up graffiti, working at the kennel, and perhaps at the library. And these are just immediate things that have been identified. The kennel has 2 employees who are with child, and one has a health condition, And nobody can really say how this will affect anything, so we're taking let's just be safe and get the employees away from the public. So we will, currently, as the rec center is closed, the library already had 2 people sick, and that's why it was just closed the place down. You're already passing it around. But I've talked with Dean and said, you're the one, all the outside park employees will continue to work because they're not in confined spaces, but the rec center employees will essentially be passed around. They'll be at the kennel, they'll go to the library to help. Those 2 buildings are already closed, so we're going to deep clean them. After tomorrow night's meeting, we'll shut this place off, deep clean it, do the training room, and we've canceled all public meetings in this building for the next 30 days.
Well, we're still on for legal women voters tomorrow night,
Yes.
are we not? Okay. Just so you know.
Currently, the only 2 buildings that are closed to the public are the rec center and the library. The Welcome Center has been shuttered by Colorado Tourism and Mesa Verde Country. As I said, the city buildings that are now closed will be cleaned prior to reopening to the public. There will be limited public access to City Hall. We will continue to have personnel on the front desk to take payments, and that will be reevaluated as the situation changes. Appointments will be made in advance to meet with city personnel such as planners or the building inspectors, as they may not be in the building unless absolutely necessary for the next 30 days. Some of us will continue to come in. Some of the employees have already been given laptops and told how to dial in to pick up their phone messages, and they can, we're going to process finance payroll outside of the building. People will not be doing their normal submittal of paper. They will do it on an Excel spreadsheet and email it in until all this passes, and we're not going to, if somebody's sick, we're not going to be passing it back and forth amongst ourselves. We're going to try and do the best we can, our part, to keep this curve down as far as possible and not inundate the hospital when they are not going to be able to handle if we get hit hard.
Will that be city employees that's doing the deep cleaning?
Yes. As I said, I want to be a good employer and keep the economy here afloat, but we have work to do, and those employees who are going to be paid are going to be working as much as we can keep them working.
And does that include, like the part-time people under a certain amount of hours? Will they?
Yes.
They would stay working?
Yes. The only one I told Phil today, he's got a couple of temps, and I said, I'm sorry, but we've got other people we can use instead of them, so go ahead and let them go now. But we will continue, as you're aware, but to make the public aware, we have services that no matter what, we will continue to do. We will continue to have police officers available. We will continue to do dispatching. We will do refuse collection. Water will still come out your tap, and it will be clean and drinkable and good water to drink. We know these things we have to do, but we will use other people to fill in if people start getting sick. But as you said, we do have a plan. We've been working on it. And we're just hoping for the worst doesn't happen, because I don't have a plan for that part. But then if everybody's sick, nobody's going to be in the public either, so.
And there we go.
And we're done. Good night.
Vicky's playing with the lights.
I'm just thinking about, part-time employees or people well under 40 hours a week. What kind of position does that put them in if they're could they be better served by, the multitudes of people in this country that are saying, I got to collect unemployment for a while and then come back to a job? Has that been, something that we've thought about, or?
I've thought about it, but as a person who's been on unemployment periodically, it would not provide them, it's pennies what they would normally be making. So I asked Dean and Finance, calculate how much they worked in the last month, use that average as what we would be paying them if they weren't working. But as Andy asked, we've got graffiti starting to sprout up all over the place. Could we spring for some paint and have the employees go and paint at the restaurants and businesses and things and, do our part to help out? We've got the employees, let's clean up while we're available and they're being paid.
Well, and I would much prefer if we have work for people to do, to provide them with some meaningful employment rather than sending them home and expecting them to sit around with nothing to do and collect taxpayer dollars that maybe need to go someplace else where there aren't those jobs. I just feel like, if we can keep this as normal as we possibly can, I think we're better off than starting to fire people that we could find work for. It's in our budget, and if there are jobs that can be done, and they're willing to do them, obviously, if you've got some folks that don't want to go to the library and do what needs to be done there or other places, then that's a whole different story.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's their choice. But I just, especially if these folks have been good employees for the city, then I agree with you, John. I think we want to be a good employer as well.
I got one quick question here so we can move on. Like you're saying, the part-time or temporary workers, are they all going to be scheduled during the day, or are they going to still work their regular shifts?
The temporaries will be let go.
Let go.
The part-timers will work during the days or whenever they're going to be needed.
Okay, so
I don't anticipate the kennel's going to be open later than they normally would, so essentially the request was, can we have a couple people in the front counter, and we can have people go around to the back to look at the dogs or cats or whatever they want, but we do not want the employees who have compromised immune systems dealing directly with any public at this point.
So if the people are working on a shift in the afternoon, if they're working 4 hours in the afternoon, you're going to tell them to come work 4 hours in the morning and forget the afternoon? Or
If that's when the work is available. They're just going to, that's the paid on call. If I'm going to pay you, you got to come in to work whenever we need you. And that's, 5 minutes notice, I need you now. Get here or...
Let me just throw this out. I don't know how many of those, of the part-time employees that we have that also still have other jobs. I'm assuming that everybody that works for us part-time probably is working someplace else as well. Would it be possible within the ability of within our ability to provide accommodation for us to, if an employee works for us in the morning and then has an afternoon job, for us to do everything we possibly can to only call them in the morning so that they don't jeopardize their afternoon job? Can we do that?
It's not our intention to, if they're working.
Right.
We're not going to try, we will work around that.
Okay.
We'll just go to the next person and say, okay, we'll make a note that it's AM only, and that's what we'll call you for, and we'll go to the next person in the line.
Okay.
Yeah, daycare, elderly care. There's all kinds of scenarios that'll come up. The people that just work, like do an exercise class or something, are they going to be asked to do this as well?
They are contractual. They're employees now, so
are those the type that be considered temporary? Or are you just talking about summer employment or?
I'm getting confused with temporary and part-time.
Yeah.
Both words around. Temporary.
Temporary is, I think, 90-day employment.
So they already knew they were just short time, that.
Yes,
we
it's
have regular
very limited time
part-timers.
employment. I believe it's 90 days.
And then we would have the regular part-timers as the ones I think we're talking more about than just the temporary people.
And they are year-round generally.
A lot of the library staff is part-time,
Yes.
so we're just guaranteeing that those folks still have the income if they're willing to come in and help and do things that need to be done. We're just ensuring that they still have that income that they can count on.
And at the rec center, there's only a handful of full-time employees. The majority are part-time.
That's what I was wondering, because like Ty was saying, they got different shifts at different jobs, so I just want to make sure that say, you got called in the morning, then the guy goes, well, I usually work in the afternoon, but I won't have to quit my other job just to make sure I stay with the city.
Yeah.
I just don't want that.
No, we'll find them something in the afternoon or in the morning to work on.
I just don't want that burden.
Regardless if it's other employment or family issues or, if we're planning on being accommodating, that has to cover a
Well,
broad range of things.
Okay, but family issues gets to be a little dicey because we all generally have family issues. So if you're going to say you're not available for work, then you have comp time available, you have sick time available, or you have vacation time.
Yeah, but if they have regularly taken care of someone in their family and relied on this pattern, this shift, and all of a sudden that's going to be something that we say, well, no, that no longer applies. We still have to be able to recognize that type of thing, in my opinion.
We just, for example, if they worked in the morning so that they could be free in the
Or
afternoon
if they
to
took
take
care
care of
of
an
their-
elderly parent, for
Sure,
example.
exactly.
And they come to work in the morning and they can work in the morning. I think your point is, and I agree, that we should accommodate that. Let's not force somebody to work in the afternoon that has always worked in the morning. My guess is that some of these jobs will be things that could be done any time of the day. If we're talking about deep cleaning, for example, what difference does it make whether they do it in the morning or the afternoon? I just think
Is that what
that.
your question was? Because I didn't understand it, so if that's your question, yes, that's exactly.
Yeah, just
the-
flexibility.
Okay,
you
yeah,
know, with-
we're more than flexible. I don't anticipate somebody being called, it was a
I don't
bad
either,
example,
but-
that I need you in 5 minutes. We're not going to have those kind of, hey, it's Monday, Wednesday and Thursday of this week, we need you at the library or whatever for cleaning. You're going to be available, correct? You will be there. Good, knock that off. She says she needs 5 people. Again, we can't have more than 10 people in the building, so we will be very careful of that stuff. And at some point, the mayor and I have talked, right now, Alyssa's one of the sick ones, but eventually, hopefully we can open up the library in 2 weeks and say, call in and order the books and we'll put them out for you or something. We'll have other people helping here. But hopefully we can at least get it open so people can get circulating books and we can accommodate them that way. We can't open the building because there's too much going through there, but hopefully we can accommodate them to keep people away.
I think we can just do our best to work with people in a reasonable manner, if they're willing to work, we can kind of work around their schedule, within reason. So I think it'd be a good thing to do that.
I have nothing further.
Okay, so does that require, John, are you wanting a motion on what you suggested, or is just an update so that we know that this is what the plans are?
This is primarily an update for the council and to see, I guess, get a measure of, if you guys were opposed to this, then take it back and rethink it.
Okay, so we're planning on paying people, even if they're working remotely. If we send them home and we don't have to have a council vote on that. Okay, all right. Discussion on counseling committee members until the week of April the 20th, 2020. That would be like Parks and Rec. I don't know whether the golf committee's working now, the Arts Council.
Planning Commission, we're also talking about them, and they've got, unfortunately, they have 2 issues that really need to be taken care of, but again, trying to go by the direction or the directives of the health department, public health, and the governor, and this is not something that we want somebody to get sick over or spread through this community, so we just felt that and maybe it doesn't need, now maybe it doesn't need to be 30 days. I took it out 30 days, maybe 15, and then we reevaluate. But
On the P and Z, the issues that are on the P and Z, coming up for them, if we can get the remote system worked out, would it be possible for the P and Z maybe to meet just to discuss those items that need to be taken care of, so that those projects, and I'm thinking of the Calkins project, so that can move forward? Is that something we can kind of consider, maybe canceling all the others, but leaving P and Z kind of fluid
In limbo?
until we figure what we can do on that one? I would like to see us not delay that project if we can possibly expedite that in some way.
Yeah, it'd be, was it April 7th? Yeah, we can try.
Okay. All right. So do we need a motion for that?
Yes.
Okay. So can we have a motion that covers all committee meetings with the exception of the P and Z meeting, which we'll decide on at a later time?
There's three that way. I don't know why you don't.
Well, I'm just turning both directions, so you're all in on the conversation.
Always. You're always looking at me. You're Mike.
well-
You look towards me.
Well, I'm right-handed, and I always look to my right, so.
I make a motion.
Take the torch on this one, please.
You ready? I make a motion, we cancel the committee meetings until the week of April 20th, 2020, with the exception of the P and Z committee meeting.
Do I have a second?
Lucero,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Noyes,
Aye.
Levy,
Aye.
Sheik.
Aye. All right, authorization on reopening budgets to review cutbacks on spending.
I really hate to do this, but because I'm anticipating that we're going to come up short on our revenues from what we projected 6-9 months ago. So I'm asking for council's approval to, and if you want, I'll bring it back to you, to review budgets to cut things out that are absolutely not necessary or can be delayed without costing us more in the future. I'm thinking perhaps not replacing cars if they're not on their last legs or going to be in the shop all the time. I know there's $10,000 in the Public Arts Committee. I'm all for it, and I really want to see the city contribute to arts in the public spaces. But at this time, I think that's money perhaps better spent, put back in the general fund. And I guess what I'm getting at, and I talked to the department heads today, we have to cut back and we can't spend money we don't have. Despite the fact that it was approved, things have changed since then. So if I talked to Dean and said, if we're getting dirt or something for the infields, we may not have a season this year, so let's just put it off until we know what we're going to be doing. Same thing for everything else here, and everybody's on board. As you're well aware, Chad left last Friday as our city engineer. We are advertising for another one because we do have Nick, but Nick has only been an engineer for a few months, and we weren't comfortable leaving him alone. In addition, he's got family back east and has made it clear that he is looking to go ahead and move on. So I told Phil, go ahead and hire the full-time engineer, but when Nick leaves, we won't be backfilling that.
So then it would be the one.
We'll just have one engineer.
So John, are you suggesting that you go through and reallocate a lot of the funds, or just kind of put a freeze on things so that we're not spending money for things that don't need to be spent, but we're not actually rearranging everything? You're just kind of freezing and only are going to be and are going to be asking council to only authorize expenditures for things that we actually really need.
Yes.
Okay, so we're not really jockeying stuff around, we're just putting a freeze on.
There's nothing to jockey around. It's a matter of we have to deeply, as I explained today, if we don't cut now, we're going to be doing some severe cutting next year. So we might as well get it started now and make it less painful next year.
Do we have an outline of what that looks like? What will be cut, where we're cutting?
No, I don't at this time. Most of the departments said, we're already cut to the bare bones. It's like, well, we're going to open it up and we're going to have to take a deeper look. And like I said, I'm the liaison of the Public Arts Committee, so I feel like a real schmuck here, but is it $10,000 we have to spend? No.
Well, I guess that's what I'm asking. Can we just freeze that? We're not going to spend the money. We're not going to start jockeying the stuff around to other accounts because we're cutting every place. It kind of serves as a placeholder if, in fact, months from now, it looks like things are looking up again. But just because it's in your budget doesn't mean that you get to spend it. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Well, I guess, I'd like to have this a little bit more formulaic.
Yeah.
Not just, we're going to cut. I'd like to see what that, or I think council deserves to see what that looks like.
Sure.
Prior to us just saying, okay, go ahead and start making cuts. I'd like to take a look at
So kind of a
that.
list of the expenditures that won't be made.
Sure. And did you already meet with the department heads on
Yes,
all of this?
and I guess cuts is not the proper word. It's more delaying things, and perhaps it's going to be delayed until next year or whatever, but I'm not taking things out because you guys have already approved it. It's just, let's not spend it this year until we figure out how long this is going to be going on.
It's just it's a freeze.
A freeze is a better word.
And the evaluation process for making sure that the delay process in the long run isn't more costly, has that been implemented? That this, no matter what, will be delayed or reallocated, won't end up costing us more? Sometimes that happens.
I recognize it's probably the most expensive thing we do, but we still have to maintain streets.
Oh, absolutely. Infrastructure is going to be extremely important. But as far as it being a little bit more formulaic and itemized, I'd like to see that. And
Okay.
Just so I can have a better understanding when asked, why things are the way they are.
Yeah, that way it gives it a better idea instead of just giving them the blank checkbook again.
I don't think it's a blank checkbook. It's a freeze, is what it is.
Yeah, but why should we mess with the budget? Because he's supposed to be handling it anyway.
Pardon?
He's supposed to be handling the budget anyway, so when he comes to what he's going to, like Ty said, once he comes up with the list that he is looking at, then we can review if it's a yay or nay.
No problem.
Okay.
That's what I was...
All right, so we'll kind of table that until we get more information. Okay.
So just so John is clear, because I think I was getting confused, but that could just be me. You're authorizing him to look for things that he can defer or freeze, but before he does the deferral or the freeze, you want a list to approve it.
We want to know what he's
Right.
he's already looked at it apparently, and he's already asked staff to look at it. So what we would like to know is what are those things that staff and John have looked at that they think they can safely put a freeze on, and then we can ask questions like yours as to whether or not if we defer this for 6 months, is it going to cost us a heck of a lot more than going ahead and just getting it now? So it actually is a good idea because it puts additional pairs of eyes on it to just ask questions and consider. Okay, all right. Linda, do you want to give us an election update?
Sure. At each of your places, I put the latest information that we put on the website on Friday. Has, again, letting people know that we're going to have a drop box here at City Hall. We have created a little corner over there where the box can be watched from the front desk as required by law. So we are going to have our box inside. We have The outside water box, I have it covered on both sides, letting people know that that is a place to drop their ballots as well as mailing them back. We're proceeding as if, you know, we're just moving forward just like we were. Nothing has changed. I will be here every single day. If people come in, they need a spoiled ballot, they're moving, or they didn't receive their ballots, we'll have them all just like we always did, where we can issue them to them from here. So I just want to assure you that we're doing the best we can to keep the election flowing just like it was planned.
I know it's always a lot of work, which I'm very grateful to have you here to deal with. This go around, it's even more. And I just wanted to say thank you, Linda. I really appreciate it. Because I know how much work you put into it and have to, the things that come up. And given the current climate of our world, it's even more difficult. So thank you very much.
I think it's the one thing our citizens will appreciate, that we're trying to keep moving the same as we always have. And I appreciate John listening to me, because I am respectful to you guys that you're letting us keep the front door open. I think it matters.
Sure.
And I do know if we get to the place where we have to close that, I understand that, and we'll work with it how we have to work with it. But as best we can, if we can keep the front door open till April 7th, 7 p.m., I think it matters to our citizens, to us, to me.
Well, and I want to commend Linda, because when the suggestion was initially made to not have anybody, for a variety of reasons, at that desk, she's the one that stepped up and said, please let me do it. I'm happy I can do my work out there, and I would like for us to keep the doors open. So that's...
And I can sit there, even if the only thing we're taking every day is the ballots.
Yeah.
Thank you, Linda.
So,
Well, it's great that we're doing this one more time together. And I hope we have we're working towards our 1,500 like we did 2 years ago.
Have we,
People to vote. They were mailed yesterday. I witnessed the delivery of the ballots to the post office yesterday morning at 9:30. They took them to Albuquerque yesterday afternoon. They will brought them back today. We're hoping to have them in everyone's mail tomorrow. So if nothing else, you should have them by Friday.
do we have any contingency plans in place just in case we're still unable to meet when this transition has to happen?
We will have to work on that.
We could do it outside.
yeah,
We could.
we could. Let's just pray it's not cold.
I got a jacket.
Wear a hat.
Yeah, and gloves and boots.
We can stand on the grass and speak to each other across the way. I'm hopeful that we can swear in our new council members in the correct way that we always have.
Absolutely, me too.
And given the circumstances, half of them may be running the other direction.
Yeah.
Oh, what did I get myself into? I would like to, if it's okay for us to do this, John. Jim very graciously called this morning to let us know that the city was declaring a state of emergency, and he asked if he and Shap could come tonight just to kind of bring council up to speed on how that decision was made. And because we are live streamed and hopefully we have some people out there that are actually watching us, that would it be okay for them?
They may be watching us, but hopefully it's on YouTube, because that's the reason I got up. It's now working on the website. It wasn't. That's why I went up and told Vicki. I got a text message, but it is working now, so go ahead.
Okay, good. Well, some days you can't do anything right here. So anyway, Shaq and Jim, if you want to, just so that your responses or your comments are recorded, you'll need to be sure those mics are on. And just share, I think it's really, really important for our citizens to know that our governmental bodies are working together, and we actually are working, even though citizens may not be aware of everything that's being done. I know that the city has been busy for days now trying to get stuff organized and things in place, and I know the county has as well. So, Jim?
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor and City Council. Thank you for letting us come in here and talk to you all tonight. I realize that sitting here watching you, we're all trying to keep a calm out of the chaos that's going around us, and I do appreciate it. We on the county commissioners, the BOCC, have been dealing with the same type of scenario. Since the governor, first of all, Friday, the president declared an emergency, and then the governor followed Monday, and we're trying to not be super reactive to everything, but look at it, follow it, and do what we need to do as closely as possible. We did this morning, the chairman, we were able to meet via Zoom conference, which is where we've all been meeting, is through Zoom. We're able to declare a state of emergency for our county, which then opens up SBA loans to help our businesses in the county, which is Cortez, Dolores, Mancos, in case those individuals that are going to be the hardest hit are able to apply and accept those if they choose to. I did reach out to Ken Charles today. He's aware of it, Heather Alvarez and Mancos. So the BOCC is reaching out to all of the other agencies to make sure that we are moving forward and that we're working in the same direction that the state is and the governor has right now. How you guys then proceed, if you follow that or follow us, then that is within your determination here tonight. We are open for business. The county is not shut down. We do have some restrictions. We did cancel our Tuesday meeting just because we had some public hearings that also we couldn't address because of the gathering and the assembly. So we canceled Tuesday's meeting. However, we will resume it this coming Tuesday. We've turned on our chat line. It's going to be tested tomorrow. Our IT department and Shaq will be testing that tomorrow so that as we restrict people from coming in, they will still be able to comment on our chat line, and then we can review the comments as they come in. So we're moving forward in that process there. Some of the facilities, the non-essential places have been slowed down or reduced, but everything is functioning and open. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys are all aware of that. I think really now I'm going to open up more of a dialogue with you all. What can we do? Our public health department is working diligently. Karen, Bobby, that whole staff over there, you know, kudos to those gals and guys over there. They've been doing a great job in the circumstances that are uncharted waters for all of us. So we're trying to follow all of the directives that are being sent down to us also, and we're hopefully pushing those out. One of the problems that we have are the modes of communication. So we have very few vehicles that we can communicate by. One is obviously meetings like this and or the Journal, Facebook, our YouTube that we record on. But the problem is not everybody has the technology to review those, and or some people don't get the Journal. So we're trying to do as good a job as we can to get all of our information out, and hopefully we're getting it out to most of the people out there. And if we're not, and you know some of those people and they need to call us, please have them call us or get in touch with our administration. I also, reading through emails yesterday from our public health department, I've been in contact with Senator Quorum, Representative Catlin, and even reached out as far as to Cristina Martinez, the Chief of Staff for the Lieutenant Governor, Diana Primavera, for any needs that we might need down here. Senator Quorum called me back yesterday. He did get 1,500 more test kits that are being shipped to Colorado, and those are supposed to be here hopefully by the end of this week. But like everybody else, we are behind because we just didn't have enough test kits. So we're going to get those. Those are going to go out to all 64 counties, so I don't know how that's going to be divided. Obviously, some of the bigger counties, I was in contact with Douglas County last night, talking to some commissioners up there. They obviously have a lot bigger counties, so don't know how those test kits are going to get spread around. Our Zoom meetings, which I think, Madam Mayor, you have been on, we've been addressing those Zoom meetings with public health, sheriffs, police departments, fire departments, Fridays and Mondays in the afternoon. And I think as far as communication and the plans that we have going forward, I believe that we've got very good communication and everybody is working together. And I want to thank you all. Thank you to the police department and everybody else here within the cities that have been working with us in the county. So with that, Shaq, I'm going to let you say what you need to say, and then we'll just open it up to a dialogue.
So I'll just kind of give a department by department update, starting with the landfill. Obviously, landfill services are essential. We will not be closing the landfill at any time because during a pandemic, one of the worst things that could happen would be to have trash piling up in the streets, and that situation where germs just sit there and fester. However, because our landfill hand sorts recyclables, and at this time it's unknown how long a virus will live on various surfaces, and all the plastic bottles that people drink from, all the aluminum cans that people drink from, the tin cans that people use, we are suspending recycling efforts at this time. So those materials that are collected from for recycling going forward will be landfilled until further notice for the safety of our staff that has to handle those materials by hand. The DA's office is still functioning, but they have restricted access. There's a drop box in the downstairs of the administration building where you can drop information, and they also have their numbers posted so that people can call. Our social services, obviously child protection, will be ongoing. Our caseworkers have been fitted with N95 masks if they need to go into a place that's believed to be contaminated. Our eligibility staff is also working with ongoing clients to be sure that as people are laid off or unemployed or have other things that they need during this time, that those needs will be met. Our planning department, GIS, and natural resources are still working, but they're working remotely because it's not essential for them to be on site. We've forwarded their regular lines to their cell phones or home phones, and they're all working remotely, so you can get in contact with all of them. As far as planning, we will be suspending public hearings because we're not sure how to get enough people into meetings at this time. Obviously, our finance office is still running at this point. We have set them up to be able to work remotely if it comes to that. The clerk, assessor, and treasurer's office are all still working. They have put out messaging that's both on our Facebook and on the website of how to conduct business remotely. However, if there's something that needs to be handled in person, you can call and they will let you into that building and help you with whatever you need to have handled in person. Our fairgrounds, obviously with the declaration that you can't have gatherings beyond a certain point, everything has been suspended for the next 8 weeks. However, our staff is still working. They're maintaining the grounds, they are maintaining equipment, and they're still up and running at this point. Road and Bridge is still out. They mostly work isolated in vehicles and equipment, so they're still out maintaining our infrastructure. Our MOCO services, our transportation, is still operational. There's been some rumors that they're not running. The nursing homes have suspended their residents being able to go in or out. Other than that, we are still picking up. We are not picking up people if they're displaying symptoms of a fever or a cough. And we are asking that healthy riders distance themselves 6 feet from each other and from the driver during the ride. We are cleaning and sanitizing the buses in between riders. And obviously our maintenance department is still ongoing. Our sheriff's department is an essential service. They will not be cutting back. They have received guidance on how to handle a suspect that appears ill and they've been given special guidance on how to take them to the hospital, how to get them cleared, and they are sanitizing and disinfecting patrol units in between each person that they administer. The jail is going through special cleaning. They'll be steaming the showers and other items like that. The sheriff is working diligently to make sure that no outbreak of this virus gets inside the jail. I think that's the department updates. Senior services, we've restricted. We're not doing meals on site because of the gathering limitations and the 6-foot limitation. However, we are allowing pickup meals and we are delivering meals. We've also had meetings with our options for long-term care and for our adult protection to find out what those needs are, and we're working on delivering any needs for them as well. Our MOCO is also helping to deliver those meals and other needed supplies to those people, and we are coordinating with the schools and the Pinion Project regarding the children in our need that rely on free and reduced priced lunches and breakfasts, and we'll be having a meeting with the school district and the Pinion Project and others that'll be involved in that project coming up this Friday. So I think on a department by department basis, that's where we're at. I know Commissioner Candelaria has taken requests from various departments and pushed them up the chain to the Lieutenant Governor's office, and I'm not sure what the response has been on that yet. Commissioner Sukla did sign the emergency declaration this morning, and he did an interview on KSJD to explain why we were doing that. I haven't got to listen to the interview yet, but that is to open up funds to impacted businesses in our community, and as soon as we have the process for working through how to get those funds, we'll have that outlined on our website. So at this time, I think we're both ready to open it up to questions that council may have.
Actually, I have one other. Looking at your agenda elections, I was in contact with the RCC. I have not been with the DCC yet. Their county assembly is going to continue Friday. They are just breaking it out into precincts, so the biggest portion, obviously, of the county assembly will not happen at the annex. They're going to be broken out into small precincts, 11 precincts throughout the county, and that's how they'll be voting. So it's something brand new to all of us. Ms. Smith, thank you for what you do. I appreciate it, and for everything that's going to happen through this election cycle for us also. So that is going to be taking place. It's just going to be a totally different scenario, but those plans have been approved by the state, and that process is going forward for our elections for county commissioner.
Two more departments.
Okay, Shaq forgot 2 more departments. As far as funding, we haven't met together as a board yet. We will on Tuesday to start seeing how, just as you are wrestling with funds, what are we going to look at? But no determinations have been made at this point in time. And I'll let you go again.
So our extension department has received guidance from CSU to cancel most in-face meetings. However, they are still open. The office is open by phone call and by the internet, and they're still available to give guidance on whatever needs that you might have. And I think they're also working on working remotely, having remote meetings with their 4-H leadership and the different clubs. And then, of course, our noxious weed department is still gearing up to be going in full force, because the weeds aren't going to stop just because there's a human virus running around. However, most of our noxious weed people can work remotely and will not be in groups of 10 or more, and therefore will still be isolated even though they're at work.
Is all of this on, or will be shortly on, the county's website, so that people can go to that, and right there when they get there they see all the services that are still available, or if they need assistance, a phone number and who they can contact?
All of the contact information is on the website. However, I think if you were postponing something, that's what you would want to address. And we have postponed none of our services. The county is open. We are functioning daily, and we are going to move that forward. We'll look at it when we talk later, and if there's something that we need to update or address, we'll definitely do so.
It might be helpful at this time, because people sometimes might not make assumptions that under ordinary circumstances that they would. It might be helpful to actually list that social services is still open, and this is contact information.
As each
ROCO is still available, et cetera, just because in that way, people
Madam
don't
Mayor,
have to look
as
for
each
it.
department has updated, we've put that on our website and we've pushed it out on our Facebook, and many of the county departments have individualized Facebooks and they're posting the information there as well. And all of that material has been marked shareable, so if you see it, you can click the share button.
And please share the information. Social media is probably our largest venue that we can get things out there today, but some people still don't have that technology. And again, as I started this, our vehicle of communication, we're trying to reach everybody to let them know what we are doing, but I'm sure that there are still people that are going to be missed. So share everything that you can. We'll equally do the same, whatever you're pushing out, and then we can move forward from there. There was something that was discussed, and I think it might be a pretty good idea, and we might just as well mention it now, that the county, the cities, the towns maybe come together daily, and we can agree on a time to do just a public address, and we can do it here, we can do it at the BOCC room, wherever we can live stream it so that people know what's going on, because we want to make sure that the rumor mill stops and that some of the chaos that's going on out there is the panic is slowed down or stopped, because as of right now, and I hope everybody is listening, we have no cases in Montezuma County. So we're planning, we're moving forward, we're still ahead of the curve. We're just trying to make sure that we flatten it and don't get anything here in Montezuma County. There's possibility and probability, everything is possible, but we hope we can keep that probably down. And it may get here and we can control it. So if you guys are open to a meeting, or maybe we can reach out to John later on and figure out how we want to address that, we can do that at that time also.
Right. Would it be rhetorical of me at this point to say that the health department is still working? And overtime?
Well, I sure appreciate that you guys keep us informed of what's going on, and I totally agree. The more collaboration we see between the city and the county will instill confidence in our greater community, and I appreciate that. And I'm hoping that the work between us and Dolores and Mancos in the county, right? I hope it's reciprocal, and I hope that we show that the greater good comes from a collaboration, not division.
And that's truly what we're working on, is the greater good for all of us. And we're looking out for the entire county. Absolutely. Cortez, Mancos, and Dolores, they've been very receptive to everything that we've pushed out to them at this point in time. So we're very thankful for you to let us come in here and speak to you guys tonight. But again, we're trying to figure out how to get out to everybody other than just sitting in our boardroom or through Zoom meetings, which is very difficult at this point in time.
Right. I appreciate it.
We are trying to do the best we can.
Right.
We appreciate you coming.
All right.
Yeah, thanks for all the info.
Mayor,
Thanks.
since we're going to move to declaration of emergency, and this shows people, it's 7:30 at night, and I just got this notice from the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. What happened here? The new order is effective 12:01 on March 19th. All mass gatherings shall be limited to no more than 10 persons. Gatherings subject to this order include, but are not limited to, community, civic, public, leisure, faith-based events, sporting events with spectators, concerts, conventions, fundraisers, parades, fairs, festivals, and any similar event or activity that brings together 10 or more persons in a single room or space at the same time in a venue such as an auditorium, stadium, arena, large conference room, meeting hall, private club, or any other confined indoor or outdoor space. So that's the orders coming down from on high that this meeting in 2 days will be illegal.
Well, it's a good thing.
Good thing we're having it tonight.
So it's 2 days from now, huh?
12:01 on the 19th, and today is the 18th,
okay.
so tomorrow night.
Okay.
That's tonight, midnight, right?
I guess it would be tonight.
Does the governor's office ever give recommendations as to how local governments should in fact operate under these conditions, or?
That says the only exceptions are the state legislature and the Colorado courts.
No, I understand that, but do they say, anything that could help us figure out how to actually go about our day-to-day governmental affairs?
No, all it says is if you have to be open as a government, keep people 6 feet away. And that's we've set up today, so that's the best advice we're still getting.
If I could, that's what our emergency ordinance would allow us to do when you make the declaration, is to come up with a way to have a meeting so you folks can make the necessary decisions. And so that's what we'd have to direct the IT department tomorrow or somebody to start looking into the technology so we can do this and make sure that we can get it out to you folks.
You're doing that now, right? The county's doing that now? We are. Okay.
Just so that I can make sure that everybody's hearing us, but the county is doing that now. That's why we canceled our meeting on Tuesday, because we weren't prepared for that. So just as the city manager just read that from the governor, now we are all trying to react within these guidelines, and just as you said, Councilman Keel, they're sending no direction of how we're supposed to function in local government. They're just saying, oh, by the way, here's a directive, and you guys figure it out. Well, it does on both sides take a little bit of time to figure it out. So people in the public out there, be patient a little bit with us, because we're all working diligently to try and make this move forward. And we are still, our ultimate goal is the public health and safety of our constituency. Right. And that's what we have to look at as we move these forward. So yeah, it would be nice if we had the direction of the governor of how we're supposed to do this. However, that's not what's coming out. They're just directives. So
and a little heads up too, so you have some time.
Correct, and no heads up. So again, I appreciate you guys trying to stay calm in this chaos, and that's what we're trying to do also. But we are doing that at the county right now. So obviously this is now an absolute 10. It changes the whole game again. So now we're back into a situation of, okay, it's fourth down. What do we do? Do we punt or do we throw the ball? So that's where we're at.
And the fun just goes on.
Thank you. Yeah, it'd be nice, have a little direction from the state.
Yeah.
I think this is not the first time that we've dealt, had to delve into these waters of, uncertainty about decisions that we're supposed to make, and so it's unfortunate.
With no time,
Yeah.
Mayor, I'd also like to add on declaration of emergency ordinance 1237, it's series 2018, not 2020.
no, Series 2018.
So when you make your motion, can you please make that series 2018?
Okay.
And also, as part of that, and I apologize, I should have reviewed this with Mike, we are going to need some kind of authority to pay bills, whether you want them mailed to you and approve them, or I pull them and get something, but we need to continue to pay bills on a regular basis, otherwise we get fined.
If those bills were sent out to us in a blind copy, so that we're not all responding, reply all, can it be done that way, so that we can look at them and then say yes?
What, When John and I talked, and it didn't get necessarily placed on the agenda this way, we were looking for a voice vote and a resolution to pay bills like we pay them at the end of the year when you do things in advance, and then we bring them to you for affirmation or review. And I realize this is a very uncomfortable thing to ask because the bills are a whole bunch more a month than they are at the end of the year when you authorize the finance department to make that final month's payments. But you could limit it to paying the bills for the month of April, or the rest of the bills for the month of March, or however you wanted to do it. And then we would affirm those at the next meeting rather than approve them in advance. We could do it that way, or you could, problem is we're not having a public meeting to approve the bills if we mail them to you.
I guess what I'm asking, Mike, is that when we get our packets and we look through them and they are part of the consent agenda and we approve it, and then whatever things that didn't get in time, we approve those as a motion as well. Can we do that via email with a blind copy? If we can do it that way, then that may increase the level of comfort, because then everybody gets to see those things.
Well,
and if they have questions, they can ask.
Let me put it this way. After you declare the emergency, I believe we can make some sort of plan to do that. To say, yes, I can do it exactly this way right now. No, because we don't have an emergency yet.
Can't the emergency state something to the effect that essential bills are discretionary, that we could allow, the people that make the decisions anyway?
Well, very rarely are there questions on these.
What I guess don't guess, what I'm saying is once we declare the emergency, then we can go to one of these processes where we email you the bills, you look, and you pull out what you don't like, each of you individually. We pay the rest, and we hold those ones you don't like in abeyance. Okay. But I don't, like I say, it is a meeting, and so we would need the authorization just to declare the emergency. The ordinance allows us to do other things, and we would just get them done and go.
Would everybody feel comfortable doing it that way?
Well, we got to keep in mind also, this is a process that's about to change. So we got new council members as of April that are going to have to be making these calls, which means, right, get all these switched over. There's logistics that are going to have to be ironed out.
It gives the city then the opportunity to be able to, we're not out of office yet, and there are
No, I
lots of bills that
understand,
need
but
to
if
be
this is
paid.
just one time that we have to do this,
Yeah,
are we going to be
it's
able to make that
something easy to
transition?
do. Sure.
Well, for a couple, it won't be
Yeah.
necessary, but.
It would be 2 meetings before you make the transition, as I understand it. It would be the April meeting, the first meeting in April, and it would be this
Right.
meeting that we just canceled. And I don't remember how we did bills on the transition meeting, because you all finish up your business, which might mean the consent agenda is approved by you folks. So it would be 3 meetings you would be suspending the process for. I just want to make that clear. It's not just one meeting, but we can get something
at
in
least
place
2. Right.
for those 3 meetings and get it out to you and get it done.
Okay. Questions?
But the ones you're looking at is just pay for the month of March.
And April.
And I was going to say, it's already been budgeted too, but if it's way over budget, what we're going to spend, maybe we can look at it then, but, bring it back in.
Yeah.
Right now, where I look at it, it's part of that money's already been budgeted for those bills.
true.
And just go ahead and continue paying those bills. And if something was over budgeted, or they're going to pay more than the budget, then you can notify us. You know what I mean? That's where I look at it, instead of getting all that stuff emailed and then getting it and then trying to respond
I'm
back.
just trying to come up with a way that will make folks feel comfortable about having oversight of how the money's been spent. I don't care one way or the other. I trust the city staff to, there have been over the years, all the time that I've been on council, there have been very few occasions when I've questioned something. So I'm not anticipating that there's going to be a big issue, but I do know that you know, there may be the desire to have that oversight. So, and because that is our responsibility, fiscal oversight, so. All right, we need a declaration of emergency, ordinance 1237, series 2018. Would somebody like to make a motion? I'm looking the other way.
Include your declaration?
Pardon?
That's just laying there now. It includes this ordinance, but also.
I can't understand what you're saying.
Oh, the paper that Mike has laid there for each of you to see, that would be signed tonight. It's
Yeah.
including that approval as well.
Ordinance number 1237.
Local health disaster emergency.
Because the ordinance 1237, Series 2, 2018 is already approved. So we're just approving this, correct?
Yes, you're just approving
Yeah.
the emergency declaration.
Hold on. This is already approved?
Yeah, this is.
Yes, sir, that's already approved and it's in the book.
That's approved 2018.
That's just,
January 2018.
I don't, when I send a copy of an ordinance, I don't always have signed copies. They don't get back to me all the time, so I just have whatever I sent to Linda to go to council. So that's what Julie would have sent. That ordinance is in place in the, I call it the blue book already. And so all you're approving is the emergency declaration.
Okay.
Series 2018's already been approved.
Well, has everybody had a chance to read the Declaration of Local Health Disaster Emergency? Has everybody read it so you feel comfortable making a motion and voting on it?
I've read it.
All right, then may I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to, for the declaration of the local health disaster emergency to be approved as
Second.
presented.
I'll second.
Noise?
Can I make this long? However, I don't necessarily agree with all of it, and the reasons for it. I do believe that we do need to take care of our businesses and the people that are affected by this that have no choice and no say in it. And I think this is something that we do need to have in place for these reasons. And then something, in my opinion, that has been blown a little bit out of proportion and kind of gotten carried away with. And so I do think we need to do it to support our citizens and our businesses.
So you're voting yes?
I did.
Okay.
Lucero?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Keel?
Aye.
Sheik?
Aye. Well, at this time, are there any other concerns people would like to raise? Okay.
I would just like to say thank you to our city and our staff, and especially our emergency services, and to the counties as well. I know that is in the upcoming days and weeks, and hopefully not months. It's going to be a trying time. So I really appreciate that, and our essential services here in town, and all of our services. I really appreciate that. I hope as we go forward with this, that there is a lot of civility within our community, and that we don't all of a sudden stop thinking about our neighbors and and the people that could use a little bit of help. And you know, I hope that for this community, and I think with the partnership between the county and the city and our neighboring cities, that we could be a shining example for the state of Colorado.
I'd also like to add to that, too, for whoever happens to be listening tonight, that everybody spread the word that we are going to work as hard as we can to make sure that citizens in this community are informed of what's going on. We'll try to up our game a little bit to be sure that those folks that may not have as many access points to get that information, that perhaps if those of you that have that will share that information in an unbiased, unedited version. I can assure you, based on what I've heard from both the county manager and one of our county commissioners, the county is working really hard to be sure that we're getting some things in place to get us through this, and I can speak from firsthand knowledge that the city is certainly doing that as well. So if you've got questions, rather than sharing misinformation, call somebody that knows, and that would be somebody at the city or at the county, not necessarily your neighbor. Jim?
I had one last thing too. On a Zoom meeting that we had with Region 9 yesterday, the chambers were in on that Zoom meeting, Cortez, Dolores. For all of the businesses out there that are hit, the worst or struggling right now, please reach out to your local chambers. They have a lot of good information going on out there. And then lastly, remember that we can order meals, we can do things, and they can be delivered curbside, so we can still support our community. It's just going to be in a different manner. So for all of the people out there listening, thank you guys, and please support our local businesses.
Eat out more, is that what you're saying?
And there are a lot of ways we can help, like the Share House and the Good Samaritan Center. We're really being swamped by customers coming in. The schools are closed, so the kids aren't getting meals. So there's been a lot of extra food being required from people. So just kind of go to these websites and donate funds. The Share House and the Good Samaritan Center, they can always use some donations. That's one way, one specific way we can help our community, and just kind of look around to your neighbors, see if they need any help. Especially the elderly people. I have several people in my neighborhood, that I'm paying special attention to, that aren't able to get out, and I think we can do a lot of good, with this crisis. There might be a lot of good that comes out of this, despite all the fear and loathing and everything. We owe it to ourselves. We can do this.
Yep. Well, thank you, council members. If there's nothing else, this meeting's adjourned.
Hey, Ty. Governor says you're now off until April 17th.
What was that?
The governor now says you're off until April 17th.
Off of what?
Schools are closed.
Schools?
April 17th? Well, how does he get to make that call, but he doesn't make the call on the other stuff?
I just don't know right here.